Hello all, welcome to our channel Nursery to Varsity. In this video, we'll cover one more part of speech, that is pronoun. Pronoun is basically a word that is used as a substitute for a noun or a noun phrase, or a word that is used instead of a noun. For example, when I say Suresh went to the market because Suresh wanted to buy a pen. Don't you think this sentence seems a bit weird? That again and again I'm using the same word Suresh. So to sort this out, pronoun comes into picture. Basically, it replaces the noun that is occurring again and again. After using pronoun, the sentence will be like, Suresh went to the market because he wanted to buy a pen. Now, why we used he as a pronoun here? All these questions, what to use, why to use, and how to use, will come on the later slides. Moving on, there are different kinds of pronoun. We'll deep dive into each one of it one by one. Now, first one is personal pronoun. Personal pronoun are basically the 7 pronouns mentioned, that are I, we, you, he, she, it, and they. They are basically having their roles according to the person. So now question arises, what are persons? Person, basically there are 3 persons in grammar. First person, second person, and third person. First person is always the speaker. Second person is always the listener, whereas the third person is basically the person about whom we are talking about. For example, if I say Ram is talking to Sham about Radha, in this case, as Ram is the speaker, so Ram is the first person. Sham, being a listener, is the second person. And Radha is the third person, reason being the whole conversation is going on about Radha. So, now getting back to the definition of personal pronoun. Personal pronouns are totally depend on having their roles in a speech act on persons. For example, walking is a form of exercise. Walking is easier than swimming. Now you can see I am here using walking repetitively in this sentence. So after replacing this noun with a pronoun, the sentence will be like walking is a form of exercise. It is easier than swimming. Now how this person thing is coming into the picture. Basically, when a pronoun replaces a noun in terms of subject of a sentence, in that case, the persons come into action. Like when I use I and we, they are definitely the first person. When I use you, that will going to be the second person. And when I use he, she, it, and they, that means they are addressing someone that is third person. So that's how there is a relation between person on which it totally depends that which personal pronoun should be used. Moving on to possessive pronoun are used to express ownership, possession, relationship. But as you can see, we have various possessive pronouns that can be used as determiners, whereas others in predicative use. Determiners are basically the possessive pronouns that are followed by a noun, whereas in case of predicative, they are used in object. They cannot be followed by any noun. For example, this is my room. Here, my is determiner that is followed by a noun, that is room. So this is determiner's case. Whereas the room is mine. Here mine is a predicative use of possessive pronoun. So here there is no need for any other noun to be get followed after this pronoun. So my, are, your, his, her, their, and its are generally determiners, whereas others like mine, ours, yours, his, hers, theirs, and its again in predicative use. As you can see, its is a common in both determiners and predicative use. So for a note, its is generally used as predicative case in most of the times. Moving on. That is demonstrative pronoun. Demonstrative pronoun is all about pointing to people or things they stand for. So here we have 4 pronouns: this, that, these, and those. Before moving on to the examples, I would like to make you notice that here we have number contrast. For singular, we'll use this and that, whereas for plural, these and those. Now the question arises, when to use what? For example, first one, this is our new house. This is pointing to a new house. To the second example, that is the bridge built by the British. So here we are using that. Now question arises, why? Because the basic function of demonstratives is to indicate the nearness. So the thing that we can touch or we can point in a very nearby distance, in that case we use this as a pronoun. But the things that are too far to touch or too far to indicate, or we can just point them out by using a finger or some other ways. In that cases we use that. So this indicate the nearness or distance of the person or object referred to in terms of speaker. So that's how we decide what to use when. So in demonstrative pronoun, first thing when we use this is while pointing. Like, this is my brother Ravi. This is his new car. Second is specific when a specific category is implied. Like, those who apply late will not be considered. So again, we are pointing to the group of people or a group of or a category of people on which a condition has been implied. Next is when a reference to a previous statement or a statement that we are following up on. Like, this is what I told them. Here, this refers to the previous statement whatsoever the speaker has been told. That is my opinion on the matter. Again, that is referring to the previous statement here. Now, here we have some exception. Like, difference between it and this. As you know that it is a personal pronoun, whereas this is a demonstrative pronoun. But as a demonstrative pronoun, this indicates nearness and also identifies a person or thing. The use of it does not convey these shades because it is a personal pronoun. And that is the reason this is preferred over it for making a formal announcement. Like, this is All India Radio giving you the news. Here, it should be it because as per the general notion, this is the subject we are replacing. So we should use it as a personal pronoun here. But no, we are using this because this is an exception to use this while formal announcements. Now, for introduction also, we use this. Mum, this is Laya, my friend. Again, we are not using like, Mum, it is Laya. No, this is Laya because this is a introduction. Now, in an answer, however, it is preferred to this when a contracted form is used. When I ask someone, what's this? It's a new electronic device. Here, I am pointing to a new electronic device, but still I'm not using this being a demonstrative pronoun. No. As per the exception, when the speaker asks a contracted form of question, the listener or the responder can use it or should use it. Whereas when the contracted form is not getting used, then it's simply this. For example, what is this? This is new electronic device. In this case, I'm not using its or it. Now, moving on to the next, that is reflexive pronoun. A reflexive pronoun is used as a substitute for a noun in objective case. Here, we use myself, ourselves, yourself, yourselves, himself, himselves, themselves. So, as you can see, direct object with attaching self and selves is used in objective form of the pronoun. For example, Govind saw Govind in the mirror. Definitely, this is not an accurate sentence to be get used. So, I will mark the second Govind and replace that with the pronoun himself. Now, the sentence will be Govind saw himself in the mirror. Gayatri laughed at Gayatri. Gayatri laughed at herself. As we know, here we have some gender constraints, so that is the reason I've used him for Govind being a male and her for Gayatri being a female. Moving on to the next, that is relative pronoun. Here we use who, whom, which, what and that as relative pronouns. These are basically used to combine two sentences, and that is the reason they also known as conjunctive pronoun. Now, let's see, for example, I met Hari. Hari had just returned. No, the sentence should be I met Hari who had just returned. Second one, here is the book, you lent me the book. Here is the book that you lent me. Now you can see the difference after using pronoun in the sentence, how contracted and how accurate these sentences are now. Moving on to the next, that is interrogative pronoun. Who, whom, whose, which and what are used as interrogative pronouns. First one, who, which are generally used as a subject or as an object in the clause, but who refers only to person, never to things. For example, who discovered America? Used as a subject here, but again a person. Who did you invite for lunch? Definitely as an object in the sentence, but referring to a person. Who are you talking about? Again referring to a person. But as a note, you can take a thing over here is in current English, whom is rarely used as the object, who is the preferred form. Now move on to whose, which is the possessive form of who. For example, do you know whose book won the award for this year? It refers to author. Now again the possession, relationship, ownership, that is considered with possessive forms. So I borrowed a book from the library whose pages are all torn. Now here whose is referring to that book that I've borrowed from library. Moving on to which is used both for people or things. But the condition here is when there is an implied choice or selection. For example, when you have a presupposed set of options, then we use which. Which card game do you like to play? Might be speaker is having a number of options with him. It's not might be, definitely speaker is having a number of options with him. And that is the reason we are using which. Which teacher do you like best? Same. The speaker is giving the listener to a number of options from which the listener have to choose a one. Now, moving on to what. What as a subject or an object is used to refer things only. Please make sure things only. What is in your pocket? Referring to a thing. Either money, wallet, phone, and so on. What's wrong with you? Again, definitely pointing out to something that is not live. So keynotes to be taken care of here is who is generally used for asking question about a person's name, whereas what for seeking information about that person. For example, who is that gentleman talking to your father? He is Mr. Reddy. So here I'm using who to ask about that gentleman. And what is he? He is an artist. Here I really need to seek information that what that person does. So I'm using what to ask his profession. Next one, which and what. Which is generally used as presupposes a set of choice, or again, as I earlier said, which is used when you have a group of options with you. But what when you ask a generic question. For example, which do you want? The red one. Here might be the speaker have the red, green and blue, and the listener said the red one, or the responder said the red one. That is the case we are using which. And when it comes to what do you want? Some coffee. So the answer could be some coffee, some tea, some green tea, anything. Here we don't have any predefined choices. Moving on to the next, that is reciprocal pronoun. Each other and one another. These are the two pronouns that are used as reciprocal pronoun. These are used to express mutual or reciprocal relationships. For example, they gave each other presents. Boys started attacking one another. Now, each other we use when we talk about two things, and when we talk about more than two things, it's always one another. Like our dog and cat love each other. Dog and cat, just two things. Or subjects to be get considered. Our two dogs and your cat love one another. Now it's more than two, so one another here. Moving on to the next, indefinite pronoun. Indefinite pronoun refers to non-specific thing or persons or things in very, very generic manner. For example, a classic is something that everybody wants to have read and nobody wants to read. Here, the words like everybody, nobody are referring to a generic crowd. So in this case, nothing is particular to be get mentioned about. So all these are indefinite pronoun. Words like all, any, anyone, anything, each, everybody, everyone, and number of others mentioned on the screen can be used as indefinite pronoun. One more example, everything is funny as long as it is happening to somebody else. Again, the underlined words like everything, somebody are indefinite pronoun. Now, moving on to the next, that is intensive pronoun. Intensive pronouns are more about intensifying or emphasizing on nouns and pronouns. Like, here we'll find them right after the noun they are intensifying, and generally ends with self and selves. And that is the reason they are also known as emphatic pronoun, because they emphasizes a lot, or they are there in the action to emphasize the noun and pronoun. Pronouns like myself, himself, herself, themselves, itself, yourself, yourselves, ourselves are used as intensive pronoun. For example, he himself is his worst critic. He as a pronoun is getting intensified by using word himself. So here himself is intensive pronoun. She approved the marriage herself. Again, herself is an intensive pronoun referring to the subject she. This is all about today's lecture. I hope you have enjoyed this lecture. If you have any queries, you can comment us in the comment section below, or you can write us at nertuver@gmail.com. You can also follow us on all our social media handles. Please don't forget to press the bell icon. Till then, keep liking, keep sharing, and keep subscribing.